You guys hear me out there? Great. I'm excited to be here in Troy. I've spent much of my life in Troy. I went to RPI when I was a young man, and we founded ChanellEyes. Two of the three of us were also RPI grads, so that's pretty exciting to be here in Troy at our office. I was probably one of the only folks that could actually walk here from my office and could walk back afterwards. So, the name of our company is ChanellEyes. And a little bit of history. So we were founded in 2011 right in Troy. And it was 3 or 4 of us that had come together and understood that the indirect sales market was really ripe for disruption. When you look at all the software platforms and software solutions out there, recommenders, things you may see on Amazon, here's the next thing to buy, they were all focused on direct sales. And what I mean there is direct sales is a company sells directly to their customer. We looked at it and said there's this whole huge underserved portion of the market which is channel sales. And that means I sell to somebody, maybe it's a value-added reseller, maybe it's an installer, and then they sell your product through to the end customer. So how do we help those folks, and how do we bring some of that innovation there? So we started with our great big idea, which was a social network. And I think we all thought that if we were able to bring kind of the Facebook experience to vendors and their partners, it would work out great. And a little bit of a lesson learned for us. We had a great technology stack that we had built. We were unable to get market traction. We still believed in the market we were after, and we started to listen to our customers. And this is something we'll come back to a lot. You really have to do what your customers want you to do. So the one thing that they kept asking us for was, could you bring something to us mobilely? So this is 2.5 or 3 years ago, and mobile is really getting a handle, really becoming a big part of technology innovation. So we built Channel Candy, which was a mobile platform to link suppliers and their partners and vendors together. And we sold that, and we were relatively successful with it. We had about 50 or 60 customers. We still have most of those now. But we took a look at it, and we realized there was a cap on the growth we could get here. That this was a product that was kind of an extra product, not something you needed to have every day. And we started to look at what people really used out of our product. And while they all told us they wanted the mobile experience, etc., when we talked to them and said, where do you get the value, it was all about the analytics. It was all about measuring traction, understanding what people were doing. And at that point, we decided to move a little bit and focus on providing those analytics and helping them grow their business by understanding some of the things that were already happening in their business. We raised multiple rounds of funding, both in New York State and from Brian eventually, but he would be in the 3rd or 2nd round of funding that we did raise, and that funding was both in New York State as well as in California. We did get some initial angel and friends and family money, but we were pretty successful in raising money from the get-go. And I would say a lot of that is because we had a number of folks that had been through multiple exits. We had been in companies before, and I think we were able to build confidence in our investors that we knew what we were doing. So in 2016, we did raise some money with Brian and his team. And the process was pretty smooth. We had already gotten a partner in Perec Ventures in New York. And they were going to invest with us, and we had worked through the due diligence with them, et cetera. And then Brian came in. And one of the things Brian said that I thought was important, and maybe isn't obvious to everybody, is that they are part of a 2-to-1 match. So when Brian and his team come in, a professional investment, a syndicated investor, has already done due diligence, has already been through that process. So then to bring Brian and his team in was pretty smooth and seamless because much of the pre-work had already been done. And you can see we went from about February to July to get the whole thing done, relatively reasonable time frame. They came and visited us right in Troy, and Brian was with us yesterday in New York City for a board meeting, and it's been quite successful. So what did we do? This was our first product called Channel Candy, and as I said, it was a mobile application to link together vendors and their partners, and we still have about 40 or 50 customers using this. Big companies like Cisco, Dell, etc. And it's been quite successful. But then we moved on to a product called Optics. And Optics was really exciting to us Because we could understand that everybody had a business, and that business was somewhat repeatable. So if you could understand kind of the hidden patterns and the trends that were in their business, and then apply them to the current situation, you could understand what was likely to happen in the future. So I'll give you an example. If you're a networking company selling into a big hospital, if you've sold 10 or 20 of these already, there are lots of elements that are common between those deals. And if you can figure out what they are and use them, you can have a much greater success rate when you're making that sale. So we answer really interesting questions like, when do I engage with a partner? So you've got your partner, and your partner doesn't want you bugging them every couple of weeks. Did you find a new deal? Did you find a new deal? But they would love you to be able to tell them, this deal is in this particular phase of the buy, and if you are able to interact with them now, you can have a lot of impact on whether that deal works or not. Will my deal close on time? Everybody that's worked in a sales-oriented company knows that sales folks are really, have a very difficult time predicting a close date. You got to be optimistic. You're going to be a sales guy. But for me, as a business guy, planning and understanding when that deal is really going to close, that's a critical question for us. So if we can help you answer that, there's a big win for everybody. So how did we do it? Well, we do it primarily with math. So we don't interview people. We don't take people's gut feel. We look at all that data that's out there. We're not really a big data company. We're more of a small data company. But we use lots of analytics, machine learning, things like that to understand all these interesting things that are happening in your business that aren't always that obvious. And by taking those, we can then understand maybe what's going to happen next, what are the likelihood of certain things to happen next, and that's the intelligence that our particular customers will pay us for. So what did we learn during this whole process? I think someone else at Palmco said this as well. Perseverance is key. You'll notice I wrote 3 products on our first slide. That wasn't because they all worked great. That was because they didn't work. So we did one thing, we pivoted, we listened to our customers, we pivoted again, and I think the key thing to do there to understand is once you get some customers that are excited about what you're doing, it's really understanding what their pain is and what they need, and less of what you do, especially in this seed early growth phase. We have thought we had everything figured out, but nothing survives when you have contact with a customer. So listening to them, understanding what they're doing, and keeping going is really, half of the battle there. ESD was a great source for us, the Innovation Fund. We had raised a certain amount of money. Bringing them in was really easy and really helped us get to the next level. And they have continued to participate in a really valuable way, on our board and as part of the advisory group that helps us fine-tune what we're doing and getting us through this seed stage to get to the Series A once we've got some market traction. And if there's one lesson, and this comes from one of my co-founders, this is something he says to us a lot. Spend your heartbeats where they make the most difference. It is easy to get caught up when you're a little business in lots of different things and understand, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. The key skill you got to have, figure out what is most important to your business, act only on that, and execute it successfully. So that's what we've learned at Channelize. We're right up the street on top of the center of gravity, and it's really gratifying to see all you folks here in Troy. We have a strong RPI connection, so Jason and his team have helped us a lot as well, too. So it's great to see you folks, and I will take a few questions from the audience if anybody's got them. Okay, thanks, guys.